What are the best and worst killers in Dead by Daylight? Hello everyone, and welcome to my video where I try to answer those questions. Currently there are 39 killers in Dead by Daylight. It is quite the challenge to rank all these killers from best to worst. Last time it took me nearly 52 minutes to get through all these killers, so I'll try to be brief and move on. Before I get started though, this list is my opinion, and the chances of it being the same as yours is very unlikely. There's a chance a killer I put into the lower tier might be your favorite main, and you believe it doesn't belong there. So before you start typing angrily in the comment section, I hope you understand this is from my own personal experience and it's my opinion. So try not to get too angry with me. So how did I rank these killers? I decided to rank these killers according to map traversal, pressure, terror radius, add-ons, and counters. And this is my full tier list. I'm going to start from the top with the best killers. I'm going to be working my way down to the worst. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start at the top with the most overpowered killers in Dead by Daylight. Unsurprisingly, Nurse still reigns supreme at number 1. Her ability to teleport through walls and quickly down survivors makes her a force to be reckoned with. Most of her add-ons are incredibly powerful, except for a few that trade a blink for increased movement speed. While there are counters to her, they're not foolproof. You can try unpredictable pathing, jumping into lockers, or sticking to edge map and objects she can't blink through. But ultimately, you're banking on her making a mistake. Next up is the newest addition to Dead by Daylight, King Kaneki, the Ghoul, or if you bought the cosmetic, Riza. This killer has survivors questioning their life choices in the fog, with one of the best map traversal abilities among the killers. He's a menace, though he can't use his cognitive leap to reach the second floors of buildings, something Nurse accomplishes effortlessly. Even on the high ground like the gallows, he can still hit you. You're not safe even at Dig Dog Saloon. His cognitive hit is practically free, triggering his rage mode and granting 3 leaps. When timed correctly, the Ghoul can slide straight to a survivor for the easiest down for any killer. To top it off, his power temporarily blocks the exit gates, so hanging around them is a risky move. Blight is a killer who punishes unprepared survivors right at the start of the match with Lethal Pursuer. Even hiding behind barriers isn't always enough. Skilled Blight players can pull off techs to land hits with the Blight Rush. It seems like in any event. Despite numerous nerfs aimed at reducing sliding, these dedicated mains consistently find new ways to bend the rules. Blight also boasts one of the best map traversal abilities in the game, making him still a very strong S-rated killer. He basically still rivals the Ghoul. I think Ghoul and Blight are pretty much even, almost even. Maybe Blight's just slightly better when it comes to map traversal. His perks are phenomenal, offering options to either enhance his turning rate or increase his rushing speed. Next we have the low S tier killers, those killers who are mostly unfair, but you can still pretend it's balanced. First up is Dracula, the Dark Lord. With his versatile ability, Dracula is a force to be reckoned with in the fog. His bat form allows him to excel in map traversal by teleporting up to 32 meters to any drop pallet or window. While it's not stealthy, survivors can hear it coming. It gives him an edge in mobility. Then there's his Hellfire spell. It isn't quite as strong as Pyramid Head's Punishment of the Damned, since it can only pass through low obstacles, but it's still a menace and tight choke points. It's an exceptional anti-loop tool, giving survivors little room to escape his wrath. Dracula's wolf form adds another layer to his arsenal. After absorbing a scent orb, he gains a burst of speed, moving at 4.8 meters per second, faster than most killers. His dash attack in this form is deadly, cutting down survivors who think they have enough room to outmaneuver him. And when it comes to his add-ons, he has some solid options. One of the best add-ons increases his teleport range by 20%, making his map traversal even stronger. Overall, Dracula is a jack of all trades. He adapts effortlessly to different situations and dominates survivors with his presence and devastating abilities. Next up, let's dive into the Spirit. This killer sparks plenty of debate about where she stands on the tier list. While she's arguably stronger than Dracula, the reason I put her in a different spot is because Dracula is a little more complex and brings a different dynamic to the game. We got map traversal, and is very, very strong. She moves very fast with the phase ability. She's able to move invisibly at an incredible speed, outmaneuvering survivors with ease. While she can't teleport like other killers, her phase gives her an edge in tracking and closing gaps. The trick to countering the Spirit lies in pinpointing her by sound, making her one of the most skill-based killers to play against. Add-ons are a mixed bag. Some are undeniably strong, like those boosting her phase speed and duration. They're absolute game changers for seasoned players. Others are quirky and situational, such as the Husk related meme add-ons that trigger Killer Instinct or block Volts. I tried this in a video and it just didn't turn out that great. I was hoping it turned into a really funny video. It just wasn't. Let's see, what else? But there's a trade-off. Her movement speed is really, really, really slow. 4.4 meters per second, on par with the Hag. This weakness leaves her vulnerable during cooldowns if she fails to land a hit after her phase attack. It's a stark contrast to her dominance in phase gameplay and creates a risk-reward dynamic that keeps things interesting. Next up, let's talk about Pinhead. You might be wondering why I placed the killer in S rank. The answer lies in one word: chain hunt. A skilled Pinhead who understands the location of the limit configuration can keep the chain hunt active indefinitely, slowing the game more effectively than any other killer. His chains are an anti-loop powerhouse. If the survivor breaks the chain by interacting with the environment, another chain quickly follows to rebind them. Add-ons like Impaling Chain crank this up a notch, spawning an additional chain to further entangle survivors. It's like watching them get trapped in a spiderweb. It's hilarious. While Pinhead isn't the fastest killer for map traversal, he can teleport to survivors who are working on his limit configuration. It's a strategic ability that allows you to close the gap and assert control across the trial. Overall, Pinhead excels at grinding the game to a halt and methodically dismantling survivors. His gameplay style is a masterclass in control, earning him a spot, I think, in S tier. Next up, we have Hillbilly. He's a killer that could spark debate between high A and low S tier, but in my view, he's earned his rightful place in S tier. Hillbilly has gone significant changes since his release. I've been playing him from the start, and he used to be my main. Back in the day, his charge was almost non-existent. Now it takes 2.5 seconds, alright? It's going to take a little bit of time. And his map traversal with the chainsaw is still insanely good. While there were nerfs last year to his overcharge speed, these adjustments added a bit more control to his sprint attacks. Though survivors now have a better chance of dodging them. Hillbilly can curve his sprint, but his turn rate doesn't quite match killers like Blight and the Oni. Survivors can exploit this by predicting his movements, or messing with his field of view to throw off his direction. And his add-ons, I think, are pretty good. I wouldn't say that the Oblivious add-ons are very good. They're alright. They're not bad. Sometimes survivors are just not paying attention. You'll be able to get a quick down. Alright, so overall, Hillbilly's instant down capability combined with his incredible map traversal makes him a force to be reckoned with, despite his weaknesses. Before we continue, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. Every bit of support means a lot to me and keeps these videos coming. Now for the A tier killers. These killers are very strong, but there's a little more counter to them than S tier killers. Let's dive in. First up, we have the Singularity. This futuristic android is a true tactical force, thanks to its ingenious use of biopods for constant surveillance. Tagging survivors with temporal slipstream makes them vulnerable to teleportation. But here's where it gets exciting. Activating slipstream teleportation triggers overclock mode, transferring the Singularity into a true juggernaut. In this mode, it breaks pallets with lightning speed, becomes immune to stuns, and speeds up its actions to hunt survivors relentlessly. However, every killer has their weaknesses. Of course, Singularity has a big one. And that weakness is the EMPs that survivors can deploy. These devices disable biopods for 45 seconds, putting the killer in a big disadvantage. Despite this, the Singularity has great add-ons. It can have all the survivors start the match with basically having slipstream already on them, so you can just start teleporting them constantly until they get rid of it. He's just a really strong killer who excels in map traversal and tactical gameplay, making it a standout choice for the A tier. Next up, we have Vecna. Vecna excels in versatility, making him a true jack of all trades. His fly ability grants him brief but effective map traversal, enabling him to move swiftly and ignore obstacles like pallets and windows. However, his true strength lies in the mage hand, I think, which can lift or block pallets, transforming most survivor loops into deadly traps. And he does that. His Flight of the Damned can be situationally powerful when used with elevation or directly aimed at survivors for instant damage. Furthermore, we also have Dispelling Spear. It is a valuable tool for revealing hidden survivors and neutralizing their magical items for a limited time. Survivors can counter Vecna using minor magic buffs found in treasure chests. However, they should tread carefully as chests may contain mimics, potentially turning the tables in Vecna's favor. Vecna's add-ons amplify his magical prowess, further enhancing his capabilities and strategic options. While he may not surpass the raw dominance of Dracula, Vecna holds his own as a formidable anti-loop killer with reliable map mobility and diverse abilities. Next is the Houndmaster. The Houndmaster's placement in A tier reflects her potential, though it may vary depending on individual skill and familiarity with her mechanics. Her search command excels in map traversal, offering efficient navigation and generator targeting. However, selecting the generator doesn't always work as intended. Sometimes I'm trying to get it to work, and I just can't even select the generator I'm trying to aim for. Her primary attack ability centers around Snug, her loyal companion, sent to chase survivors. While Snug can be a powerful and effective killer, timing and precision are crucial. Often Snug ends up being so inconsistent and difficult to even use. Some add-ons enhance Snug's performance, such as boosting movement speed or refining hound sense, but I think most of them are kind of useless. So overall, her map traversal and Snug's chase can be very, very effective at times, I will agree. but other times I just find this killer just so finicky to use and just really inconsistent. Anyways, I think she can rise above her tier where I placed her, but for now, I think she remains right where I put her, in A tier. Next up is Oni, a killer with godlike abilities that demand respect. His Demon Dash excels in map traversal, while his Demon Strike instantly downs unprepared survivors. Oni's add-ons enhance his Wraith meter, or redefine his Demon Dash ability, making him a formidable force. Skilled Oni players master the 180-degree Demon Strike to catch survivors off guard. Survivors counter Oni by minimizing his Wrath gains, keeping him in his M1 state for as long as possible. The longer he remains unpowered, the better, but be cautious. Oni can snowball quickly, regaining control and momentum to dominate mid to late games. His potential to snowball survivors makes him an A tier killer, but if survivors are able to prevent him from increasing his Wrath power, so he can't Demon Dash, he's much weaker, but I still place him in the A tier. Next up is Pyramid Head. Pyramid Head doesn't have the fastest movement speed in the game. It's very average, just like a whole lot of other killers. His Punishment of the Damned is very powerful for sniping survivors, and you have to use a Trail of Torment to do that, which makes a trail that does get recycled the longer you do it, so you're not going to have an infinite amount of trails. It's just going to delete itself. So even if you have the longest duration add-ons, you're going to increase your power, but you're not going to have that much trail on the map. Trust me. His other notable add-ons are the Crimson Ceremony book. It does add Mangled and Hemorrhage to survivors if you hit him with Punishment of the Damned for I think 60 seconds, which is very good for slowing down survivors from doing objectives if they decide to heal. It's really a choice for survivors though, because they can choose not to heal for those 60 seconds and heal later, or they have other perks that kind of negate this. So it's not really as effective as you think it is, but it is kind of useful. Overall, Pyramid Head, if you get into a choke point or some narrow hallway, this is where Pyramid Head just thrives, and he could just hit you with that Punishment of the Damned over and over again. And the higher skill players, they have a general idea of where you are, and they can hit you with Punishment of the Damned even if they can't see you. So it's not really safe no matter where you are, but if you get some distance from him, even if you're behind a wall, he'll be just using it against nothing, because you'll be far enough back. Overall, I think he is a very strong killer, that's why I'm putting him in A tier. But survivors are able to dodge his attack, and if they're smart, they can easily get some distance away from him. He's not the fastest killer in the game. So he's strong, but not the strongest. Next up is the Plague, a deadly killer whose power lies in her infectious bile. She can vomit on objects, infecting them for 40 seconds. Skilled Plague players often infect multiple objectives at the start of the match to quickly spread the sickness among survivors. Survivors who touch the infected objects or interact with them risk becoming fully infected. Her add-ons are exceptionally strong. Some grant constant ore reading if survivors are vomiting, while others increase the infection rate. However, her most impactful ability comes into play when survivors cleanse themselves using the Pool of Devotion. These corrupted pools grant her the powerful Corrupt Purge, turning her bile into a lethal weapon that injures survivors directly. Survivors already infected become vulnerable to instant downs. At loop, she's extremely dangerous, as skilled players can use her vomit to hit survivors even behind walls. While it may seem straightforward to counter the plague by avoiding pools, her strongest add-ons allow multiple corrupted pools to spawn early in the match. Survivors can reset these pools by corrupting all of them, which I hardly ever see anyone ever do. This does automatically grant her corrupt purge for a short time, so you could just reset everything. Managing her power requires strategic play and careful timing. Overall, the plague is a killer to be wary of. Countering her is far from simple, no matter what anyone says, and underestimating her can lead to disastrous consequences. Next up is the Twins, a killer duo that has undergone significant changes in recent patches. Gameplay is now smoother with easier character swapping and improved mechanics for Victor's Pounds, making them more viable. However, they remain the buggiest killer in the game. Some of the mechanics, like automatic dying when Victor lands on certain objects, can feel frustrating and unfair. Additionally, Charlotte must switch back to pick up survivors and hook them, which can waste a lot of valuable time for this killer. Despite these issues, the Twins are far from weak. Injured survivors are highly vulnerable to Victor's incredible map traversal and snowball potential. Victor can even block exit gates, punishing survivors who linger too long. There's always that one survivor who learns this lesson the hard way. Every single time. Their add-ons are mostly average, though a few stand out, such as improving Victor's speed or granting Charlotte undetectable for 20 seconds. Alright, now we're entering the low A tier territory. These killers are incredibly strong, though their weaknesses are more apparent. First up is Bubba. While his map traversal isn't exceptional, as he moves at an average speed, underestimating him is a mistake. Survivors often find him cute and not particularly scary for some reason, until Spirit Fury and Enduring come into play, turning him into an instant down powerhouse. Bubba's add-ons are very strong, some nearly grant infinite chainsaw use, or reveal survivors behind obstacles whenever he revs his chainsaw. The chili add-ons are great as well, providing longer chainsaw duration. On the other hand, the speed add-ons tend to falter due to the increased charge time. So instead, try using no add-ons at all, and you'll realize these speed add-ons might be preventing you from getting a kill before the survivor could vault. Survivors counter Bubba by avoiding the basement, carefully tracking how many charges he has left, and greeting pallets strategically when he's likely has only one charge remaining. This takes high level of awareness to execute effectively, but at face value, Bubba may seem cute and easily loopable, but in the hands of a skilled player, he's a far greater threat than survivors expect. Next up is the Huntress, a killer who is incredibly strong in the right hands and could rank higher, but specific limitations place her in low A tier. Known for her remarkable long-range precision, the Huntress can snipe survivors across the map. At high levels of play, she can mortar survivors with double hatchets or an instant down. However, environmental changes like increased object height for walls and boulders have made landing hatchets at loops more challenging than before. With a movement speed of 4.4 meters per second, she suffers from poor map traversal. If survivors loop her around certain objects, it can take her a long time to catch up. Despite this, her add-ons are very strong, including those that increase hatchet speed or reduce wind-up time. Many are highly effective, although Weighted Head applies a 10-second incapacitated effect is underwhelming due to its short duration and limited impact. Overall, the Huntress remains a powerful killer, but environmental adjustments and her slow mobility make her weaker than she once was. Next up is the artist. I've had a change of heart with this killer and I put her much higher than I did last time. The killer excels at zoning survivors out of strong loops, with crows that can bypass obstacles and render larger barriers irrelevant. Unlike the Huntress, her movement speed is 4.6 meters per second, giving her an edge over the Huntress in terms of mobility. At close range, her crows act like a shotgun, injuring survivors and forcing them to either abandon the loop or risk dodging her precise attacks. Add-ons further enhance her potential by reducing ability cooldowns or swarming additional survivors, adding to her threat. So why is the artist ranked lower than the Huntress? Her power has significant limitations on certain maps. Elevation, especially on maps like Grim Pantry, make her abilities ineffective, as her crows travel in straight lines. Survivors can easily counter her crows by jumping into lockers, and while it's possible to snipe survivors with her crows, it's much harder to execute consistently compared to landing a hatchet by the Huntress. Overall, the artist has the tools to overwhelm survivors, but her high skill floor and situational challenges make her harder to secure wins against experienced players. Next up is the Hag, a slow killer who relies on traps to teleport and quickly damage survivors. Her ability is incredibly powerful when survivors fail to actively remove traps, allowing her to dominate areas and yank survivors off generators unexpectedly. Her add-ons further enhance her traps, making survivors unaware they've even triggered them. If survivors make the mistake of looping near the shack and go down, escaping the basement becomes nearly impossible, as the Hag can trap the entire area. Despite her oppressive potential, the Hag is ranked at the bottom of A tier for a good reason. When survivors communicate about trapped zones, her effectiveness drops significantly, reducing her to a slow N1 killer with a movement speed of 4.4 meters per second. Survivors can loop her repeatedly and use the map item to reveal her traps, rendering her strategy ineffective. While it's rare to encounter a survivor who uses this item, given the preference for flashlights, its existence can completely counter her power. Overall, the Hag can be extremely oppressive under the right conditions, but if her traps are neutralized, she becomes a slow, vulnerable killer reliant on basic attacks. Now for the B tier killers. These killers are balanced, making it possible to have a successful game if used wisely. The first killer on the list is the Unknown, and I've found them particularly tricky to rank. The Unknown's ability to teleport to their hallucinations, which appears every 45 seconds, and maxes out at 4, making them stand out a little bit. However, survivors can dispel these hallucinations by interacting with them for a brief period, essentially reducing the Unknown to a regular moving killer. While the ranged UVX projectiles are powerful, they require a high level of skill to use them effectively, as they are the slowest projectile in the game, making them relatively easier to dodge. The tear radius is only 32 meters, which can make it challenging to close the gap between them and the survivors. Using perks designed for tear radius manipulation can help mitigate this weakness. As for add-ons, they shine particularly with ones that cause survivors to start the trial in a weakened state, enable immediate damage from their projectiles. Skilled players can also use the explosive UVX projectiles to hit survivors through walls, adding a layer of unpredictability to their playstyle. However, mastering the Unknown's kit requires finesse and strategy, making them a challenging killer for most players to use effectively. Next up is Wesker. Wesker moves at an average killer movement speed of 4.6 meters per second, but his terror radius stands out. It's larger than most killers at 40 meters. This means survivors will almost always know when you're approaching, which is both a blessing and a curse. You can use this to your advantage by synergizing with claustrophobia, distressing, or starstruck. However, it's still a major disadvantage as survivors are often aware of you before you can catch them off guard. Virulent Bond is an impressive tool for map traversal, allowing you to cover ground quickly and grab survivors along the way. But here's the tricky part. If the survivor is in an open area, what I like to call the void, Weskers might only infect them with the Ouroboros virus without causing damage. Most of the time though, you'll be aiming to throw the survivors into an object, which does deal damage. His power also rewards skilled players who lands hits around obstacles, creating highlights and worthy plays. While many of the Wesker's add-ons aren't game-changing, those that increase throw distance can guarantee the survivors take injury after collision. Survivors reaching 100% infection will instantly go down, which is a powerful mechanic. But survivors can cure themselves easily using first aid sprays, making this less reliable. Overall, Wesker has great potential for skilled players, but survivors have gradually learned how to counter him over time. He's become infamous in joke videos for being forced into embarrassing plays, like failing his bound attempts through windows, earning him the unfortunate label of a laughingstock in those scenarios. Next up is the Doctor. This killer moves at an average speed of 4.6 meters per second, meaning he's not known for crossing the map at lightning's fast speeds. However, his power Carter Spark more than makes up for it. It forces survivors into a state of madness, which they must deal with to regain control. His hallucinations aren't particularly strong. They do reveal the locations even if they are hiding in lockers, which is really great. Shock therapy is a fantastic anti-loot tool that can prevent survivors from dropping pallets, offering the Doctor an advantage in chase scenarios. Skilled players can use this strategically to trap survivors. Combined with his perks like Modern Abuse, Overcharge, and Overwhelming Presence, the Doctor has multiple ways to disrupt and hinder survivor gameplay. His ability Static Blast is another powerful tool. It can reveal survivor's location across his terror radius and halt their progress on generators, and you can increase that terror radius with different perks. Survivors can counter the Doctor by W gaming to connected loops, keeping their movement unpredictable to avoid his shock. Spreading out also makes it harder for him to push everyone into madness. The increased knowledge of how to counter him have placed the Doctor more firmly in the B tier category. Despite this, in the hands of a skilled player, the Doctor remains a formidable killer with a strong emphasis on map pressure and survivor disruption. Next up is Nemesis. This killer relies heavily on increasing his mutation rate to maximize his power, but every time he uses his whip, Tentacle Strike, he slows down to 3.8 meters per second in mutation rate 1 and 2, and 4.0 meters per second in mutation rate 3. So, as long as you can increase his mutation rate 3, you're going to actually move a little bit faster each time you pull up your whip, if that makes sense. Which means he can't catch up to survivors quickly without proper positioning or strategy. Once his mutation rate increases, his whip becomes significantly stronger. At mutation rate 2, the Tentacle Strike gains the ability to break pallets and walls, while mutation rate 3 further increases its range to 6.5 meters. and slightly reduces cooldowns. However, to deal damage, Nemesis must first infect survivors using his tentacle strike, or hopefully a zombie hits him. Nemesis must first infect a survivor, making him essentially a 3-hit killer. That's basically what I'm trying to get to. A noticeable disadvantage. That said, when all survivors are infected and there are no more cures available, Nemesis can quickly dominate loops and down survivors with ease. Nemesis also comes with 2 AI-controlled zombies patrolling the map, which can slow down survivor progress on objectives. Sure, you can use some add-ons to improve their speed. Unfortunately, there are only 2, and they're very, very buggy, arguably even worse than the twins. Their reaction time is slow, taking nearly 3 seconds to respond to survivors, which is often too late to make a meaningful impact. As for his add-ons, most of them are lackluster. The ones that increase his mutation rate are only real standout, while many others feel forgettable and outright pointless, such as the add-on that positions zombies in the exit gate, where they're unlikely to have any effect at all, as survivors will likely escape before the zombies even move. Next up is the Clown. The Clown moves at a standard killer speed of 4.6 meters per second, but its afterpiece antidote grants him a 10% haste bonus, boosting his speed to approximately 5.06 meters per second for 6 seconds. This can be a game changer when closing gaps, especially when paired with creative builds like Mad Grit, which can lead to some exciting and entertaining plays. Hopefully this mechanic remains unaffected. Upcoming nerfs, as haste stacking is supposed to be nerfed after the PTB. His afterpiece tonic is another standout feature, slowing survivors by 50% when they're caught in its gas. This makes him an excellent anti-loop killer, disorienting and hindering survivors at crucial moments. His perks such as claustrophobia and bamboozle can further amplify his abilities, making him a formidable force in chase situations. That said, survivors can counter the Clown by pre-dropping pallets, as they're likely to lose prolonged loops against him. Still, the Clown excels at map control, with his antidote, allows him to traverse the map more effectively than most killers. Despite these advantages, he isn't the quickest when it comes to downing survivors, which limits his overall dominance. In conclusion, the Clown is a strong anti-loop killer with solid map traversal capabilities, but he remains balanced and falls comfortably in the B tier category. Next up is the Deathslinger. Like the Huntress, the Deathslinger moves at a reduced speed of 4.4 meters per second, making him one of the slowest killers in the game. Unlike the Huntress though, he lacks the ability to cross-map snipe. His 32 meter tear radius is average, which can make it more challenging to sneak up on survivors. This can be mitigated with the right perks such as Monitored Abuse or Tinker to help control when survivors hear your approach. The Deathslinger's appeal lies in precise aiming and the convenience of reloading his Redeemer without needing to rely on lockers. His ability to harpoon and reel in survivors offers unique gameplay, allowing you to hit through objects more reliably than the Hunter's hatchets. Skilled Deathslinger players can use this to punish survivors attempting to stay behind cover. When it comes to add-ons, the Deathslinger has some excellent choices. The add-ons that decrease the reload time or improve reeling speed are particularly valuable for smoother gameplay. Notably, the Iridescent Coin is a definite standout, granting the exposed status effect to survivors harpooned from at least 12 meters away. This can turn the tide of a match when used effectively. Next up is Chucky. Chucky moves at a slow speed of 4.4 meters per second, similar to the Huntress, which means he's not catching up to survivors anytime soon. This makes him vulnerable to being looped repeatedly around objects and other places. However, his strength lies in his unique third-person perspective, which is shared with survivors, and his ability to enter hidey-ho mode. In this mode, Chucky becomes undetectable and generates illusionary footfalls across the map to disorient survivors. Supposedly, it doesn't really fool me too much. That said, his random laughter in this mode can give him away really easily. Chucky's strongest ability is Slice and Dice, which allows him to sprint at 8 meters per second for 1.8 seconds. This burst of speed is powerful but brief. Skilled players can change this ability with window vaults to extend its effectiveness, enabling some map traversal. Unfortunately, most of Chucky's add-ons are underwhelming, though any add-on that reduces cooldowns is always a welcome choice. Despite its limitations, Slice and Dice can still lead to some incredible plays, especially around loops like the Shack. However, his slow base speed of 4.4 meters per second remains a significant drawback for me, making him a challenging killer to master. Next up is Michael Myers. This killer starts off slow and Evil Within 1, moving at 4.4 meters per second, but he gains the undetectable status effect, making him completely stealthy. In this stage, it's crucial to maximize value by stalking survivors to 99% and sneaking up on them and hopefully getting a generator grab. If you do this correctly from the edges of the map, you can actually get the grab. It happens quite often, creating strong early pressure. In Evil Within 2, his terror radius decreases to 16 meters, and with the Dead Rabbit add-on, arguably one of his best, you can reduce this even further to 12 meters. Despite having a terror radius, Myers can still sneak up on survivors effectively, making him one of the scariest killers in the game. Myers boasts an impressive variety of add-ons that can drastically change his playstyle. Some allow him to reveal survivor auras, extend the duration of Evil Within 3 for longer instant downs, or even instantly mooring survivors. That part is not as strong as it used to be. His add-on selection is amongst the most versatile and interesting in Dead by Daylight, in my opinion. Survivors can counter his tombstone, though, his instant kill, by hiding in lockers, forcing Myers to grab them instead. With recent buffs, Myers can now stalk survivors incredibly fast from a distance, making him even stronger. However, he struggles in close quarters, especially in enclosed areas surrounded by walls, where stalking just becomes really difficult. This can lead to challenges of getting enough stock to be able to instant down survivors. Overall, Michael Myers is a powerful killer with terrifying potential, but environmental obstacles can hinder his effectiveness a lot. Next up is Onryo. Onryo moves at a standard killer speed of 4.6 meters per second, but her ability to project herself to TVs around the map makes her unique. Survivors can condemn stacks when near powered TVs, and if they don't manage these stacks, they risk being moored by her inexorable stare. At the start of the trial, TVs are disabled for 30 seconds, and survivors can disable them for 70 seconds. This creates opportunities for survivors to repair generators in relative peace, though many fail to take advantage of this mechanic for some reason. I have no idea why. Survivors who don't remove condemned stacks and get chased risk having their stacks locked in when hooked, making it even harder to avoid her mori. Onryo's small 24-meter terror radius allows her to sneak up on survivors effectively, and her intermittent visibility can throw survivors off during loops. Skilled players can use this to mind game survivors, catching them off guard. Her add-ons are strong, especially the ones that increase condemned on everyone if you manage to hook someone with a tape, and the one that increases their speed after a projection are pretty strong. While Onryo is a strong killer, her strengths are easily countered by survivors who understand her mechanics. Disabling TVs, spreading out, and managing condemned stacks are key to neutralizing her pressure. Survivors who fail to do so often lose to her, which can feel like a skill issue rather than an inherent advantage of the killer. Overall, Onryo is a solid killer with a unique playstyle, but her effectiveness depends heavily on survivors' awareness and their ability to understand how the killer even works. Next up is Ghostface. Ghostface moves at a standard killer speed of 4.6 meters per second, but his strength lies in his ability Night Shroud. This power makes him undetectable and reduces his terror radius to 0, allowing him to stalk survivors and mark them for the exposed status effect. Marked survivors can be down in one hit, but they have 60 seconds to avoid being caught, giving skilled survivors a chance to loop them effectively and avoid the instant down. Good survivor teams can counter Ghostface by keeping a lookout for elevated positions like hills or other high vantage points, and they can reveal him by staring at him for 1.5 seconds within 32 meters, which forces him out of his Night Shroud and disables his stalking ability temporarily. This makes him particularly vulnerable on open map, where survivors can easily spot and reveal him. However, on indoor maps, Ghostface excels at sneaking up on survivors for quick downs. Ghostface add-ons vary in effectiveness. Some of the best include those that increase movement speed when chasing marked survivors, speed up the stalking progress, or cause marked survivors to damage generators they're working on. Other add-ons, however, are less impactful and not worth bringing. Overall, Ghostface is a well-rounded killer with a strong stealth playstyle, but he struggles against high MMR survivors who are adept at countering his power. Without Night Shroud, he becomes a weaker M1 killer, relying heavily on his ability to gain the edge. Next up is the Pig. She moves at a standard speed of 4.6 meters per second, and like Ghostface, her crouch slows her significantly. While her map pressure isn't the best, she compensates with reverse bear trap. These traps can delay objectives, and with the right add-ons, every survivor can start the trial with a trap, which is really strong. Some add-ons can increase the time survivors spend attempting to remove them, which is alright. It's not very likely the trap is going to go off though. Though she isn't among the strongest killers, the Pig excels at slowing the game down. Her dash attack is highly effective in tight loops, often guaranteeing a hit when executed correctly. Additionally, her crouch introduces a stealth element, particularly when combined with the add-ons that increase crouch speed or enhance her dash attack. Many players underutilize her crouch. It's best to use strategically, capitalizing on her small 24-meter terraries when approaching generators. But if you stay crouched throughout the entire game, you're basically wasting your precious time. You want to kind of get close to those gens and then crouch. The Pig's main weakness lies in the RNG of her bear traps. Survivors can escape traps at any of the 1 to 4 jigsaw boxes, with a guaranteed removal at the 4th. Add-ons that increase the trap timer are situational due to their reliance on RNG. but they become more effective on multi-floor maps, where survivors must cover more ground to find jigsaw boxes. Perks that cause survivors to scream can synergize with bear traps, occasionally triggering a trap and killing a survivor if they can't get it off in time. And those screams can just interrupt every time they try to get that trap off. They're trying to get skill checks. They gotta restart from the beginning. Survivors can counter traps by escaping through the hatch, which bypasses the traps entirely. And basically unfair mechanic, but since all 4 survivors can't escape through hatch anymore, it's not as bad as it used to be, but the last survivor who has it could just escape through hatch. It's a little crazy. Overall, recent buffs have greatly improved the Pig's performance, and with her ability to delay the game and utilize stealth effectively, she earns a solid spot in the B tier. Next up is the Wraith. When uncloaked, this killer moves at an average movement speed. When cloaked though, however, he moves really fast. And you can actually boost this quite a bit with add-ons. He mainly focuses on sneaking up on survivors. However, his visibility on open maps is very easy to spot. It's very similar to the game Halo, where there's an invisible elite and you can just definitely spot him. It's not that hard. Some of his add-ons are exceptionally strong, enhancing his gameplay in various ways. These include uncloaking faster, improved movement speed, and faster pallet breaking while cloaked. Survivors can counter his pallet breaking add-ons by waiting for him to fully uncloak before dropping the pallet. It's the funniest thing ever. I've seen quite a few Wraiths try to fake uncloak on me, and I just waited till like the 3rd or 4th time he tries to fake it, and he finally uncloaks fully, and I've wasted so much of his time. The Wraith can also body block survivors at windows to secure an easy down, and if you're not careful, he's just going to get a free hit. Indoor maps, I feel like he's a little bit stronger. He has a better chance of catching survivors off guard because you don't see him like 20 meters away coming towards you. But he's still a very noisy killer. You can still hear him. Even if he is cloaked, you can still hear him breathing, kind of like Michael Myers. There is also something that high-level Wraiths like to do. These Wraiths can become completely invisible by standing still. Now, you might be wondering, why would you ever do this? This tactic works really well when waiting for survivors to return to generators. Pairing this with Dragon's Grip, you can get an exposed status effect on survivors for the instant down. In conclusion, the Wraith excels at map traversal and counters survivors with body blocking and other things. But he's still an M1 killer, and he remains in the B tier despite his strengths. Now we're at the C tier killers. These killers struggle to hold their own, but they're far from useless. First up is the Xenomorph. While this killer's map traversal through tunnels is exceptional, and his tail attack excels in anti-loop, it suffers from weaknesses that keep it in the C tier. Most of the Xenomorph's add-ons focus on remote flame turrets, which are more of a hindrance than a boon. Survivors can use these turrets to counter the Xenomorph's ability, and while some add-ons reduce turret range or make you undetectable when you lose power to them, they do little to meaningfully enhance gameplay. Aside from the add-ons that slightly improve your window vault speed, which has nothing to do with the turrets. Turrets are more of a bane of the Xenomorph, wasting time to destroy and occasionally causing bugs that leave the character motionless for 3 seconds. I've had this happen many times where I try to destroy a flame turret and I just can't move. While its tail attack remains powerful for anti-loop, recent changes have made it feel sluggish. The increased tail attack charge time now allows survivors more time to react, reducing its effectiveness. Even with the buffs, such as the increased fire damage threshold needed to remove crawler mode, the nerfs like the slower tail attack charge time outweigh the improvements in my opinion. This killer's gameplay often involves dealing with turrets a lot, which adds extra slowdown due to the various bugs that I encounter. While the Xenomorph is fun to play, having to deal with turrets all the time just makes this killer suffer a little too much in my opinion. So I'm going to leave him in the C tier. Next up is the Knight. This killer has an average movement speed of 4.6 meters per second, which isn't particularly impressive, but his unique ability to summon guards compensates for it. He can switch between 3 different guards, each suited for specific tasks. The assassin excels at attacking, while the jailer is ideal for extended patrols. Unfortunately, the developers made using the Carnifex for breaking pallets more cumbersome in my opinion. You often have to reposition just to get him to perform the desired action. Additionally, guards must move at least 10 meters before being placed, adding to a lot more frustration. In some situations, going for multiple attacks might be more efficient than focusing too much on a single chase. His add-ons aren't particularly impressive either. The guard detection range feels more useful to me than the aura reading or undetectable effects that you can get. Survivors have effective counters too, like stealing his flag to gain a speed boost. Despite his limitations, the Knight, at denying survivors objectives, offers solid map control. His ability to switch between guards provides flexibility, but his overall power feels less impactful than it once was. While he remains a strategic killer, the frustration in using his ability can detract from his strengths. Next up is the Dredge. This killer is incredibly unique, making it harder to rank. With its recent buffs, the Dredge has become quieter, teleports faster, and breaks locks more quickly. While it moves at an average speed of 4.6 meters per second, its teleportation ability compensates for this limitation, giving him some really good map pressure. Survivors should take care when locking lockers, as the Dredge can grab them if he is inside. The remnant that he can use is very useful for zoning survivors and can occasionally secure a hit, though it sometimes feels disorienting when you're trying to teleport back to your remnant. Nightfall, which is gained by injuring survivors or through other means like staying in lockers, provides the Dredge with the undetectable status effect and even faster teleportation. At higher MMR levels, survivors are less likely to be disoriented by the Nightfall and can still loop effectively. Whereas at lower levels, survivors often run into walls or dead ends. It's really funny. This makes the Dredge really strong in the low MMR. Despite its strong map traversal, survivors can counter the Dredge by running from the remnant to connected jungle gyms, making it harder to anti-loop effectively. While the killer shines at controlling the flow of the game, its vulnerabilities and survivor counters keep it firmly in the C tier. Next up is the Demogorgon. This killer begins the trial with 6 portals that can be placed strategically around the map. Interestingly, these portals cannot be recycled, but when used effectively, such as setting up a 3-gen, you can gain a substantial control over the game by defending key objectives. The Demogorgon Shred Attack is a standout feature, moving at an incredible speed of 18 meters per second, and giving it excellent anti-loop potential. However, his add-ons are kind of average to weak. The worst offender are those that increase the undetectable status effect when leaving portals, giving the Demogorgon loud, stomping noises. So even though they try to give him some stealth mechanics, it's just completely ruined by him just stomping around like a T-Rex. I don't know what the developers were thinking when they designed this. A buff similar to Dredge's stealth improvements could make these add-ons more viable, and they should. A key strength of this killer is its connection to the Abyss, which allows it to detect survivors near active portals, and triggers Killer Instinct, a mechanic that cannot be blocked by any perks. That makes the Demogorgon highly effective at tracking survivors. Overall, the Demogorgon offers great map traversal and decent tracking capabilities, but it's held back by weird mechanics and add-ons in the game. While it's still a very capable killer, it doesn't quite rise to the level of the strongest killers in the game, keeping him in the C tier. Next up is Freddy. This killer moves at an average speed of 4.6 meters per second, but compensates with his ability to teleport using dream projections. Freddy's power reaches its peak when survivors are in the dream state, allowing him to injure them through pallet rupture, slow them with dream snares, and reduce the cooldown of his dream projection for quicker map control. However, if the survivors escape the dream state, Freddy becomes significantly weaker, relying only on advancing their micro-sleep passively. Using an alarm clock grants survivors protection from the micro-sleep for 30 seconds, during which they cannot be pulled into the dream state, even if Freddy lands a hit. After this immunity expires, survivors passively fall asleep over the next 60 seconds, giving them up to 90 seconds of freedom to focus on objectives like repairing generators. Freddy's mechanics makes him very situational in terms of effectiveness. At the higher levels of play, survivors who stay awake and understand his power can effectively counter him, limiting his impact. While the sleep mechanics provide versatility and control, they also make Freddy heavily reliant on survivors being asleep to maximize his power. If it weren't for the sleep mechanics, Freddy might deserve a spot in the B tier, but given how survivors can manage their sleep to hinder his abilities, Freddy belongs firmly in the C tier. And also use Vigil. So good against this killer. Alright, we're finally reaching the D tier killers, who may as well be powerless. First up is the Trickster. This ranged killer moves at an average speed, faster than the Huntress, by the way. But his glaring weakness is his massive lullaby. Survivors can hear it from far away, giving them plenty of time to vacate the area, making it one of the best counters against him. His power, the throwing knives, faces challenges at long distances, as hitting survivors requires precision. In close-range combat, the Trickster really excels at survivors. He can quickly down survivors with his blades, and after hitting 8 times, survivors suffer from the laceration injuries. This also unlocks his special ability after those 8 hits, and it's called the main event, which unleashes a rapid volley of daggers. His add-ons are very strong, all contributing to his power. Some of the top ones ricochet off walls, pierce through survivors, or my favorite, I actually like having additional blades. Despite these strengths, his effectiveness is hampered by his power, slowing him down significantly when throwing daggers. Around high obstacles, his power becomes virtually useless. Since the devs have made obstacles a little bit higher on some maps, this is becoming more and more of an issue. For a skilled player, this killer can secure quick downs in close combat, but against experienced players, his power is easily neutralized by strategic looping. Next up is Legion. Even with the small, recent buffs, I still don't see this killer as particularly strong. Legion's power, Feral Frenzy, is better suited for injuring survivors rather than downing them. Survivors who spread out and avoid clustering make it difficult for Legion to chain his hits, significantly reducing the effectiveness of his power. High-level survivors know how to counter Legion by keeping healing to a minimum, resetting only when absolutely necessary, like before unhooking a teammate. And there are a few clever tricks survivors can use against him. For example, if you got a flashlight and Legion is vaulting a window during Feral Frenzy, you can blind him. That'll throw him off completely, forcing him back into a normal chase. You can also try to make him miss an attack, which instantly ends his power. And if someone in the min state steps in to block the Legion's path, it's another effective way to stop his Feral Frenzy dead in his track. Last but not least, it is kind of funny to head on him while he's rushing towards you. Now, if survivors make the poor decisions, like constantly healing or clumping together, they'll only make it easier for the Legion. They won't finish objectives, and they'll practically hand him the game. His add-ons are decent, with some that extend the speed or duration of Feral Frenzy, but they don't fundamentally make him into a powerhouse. Overall, Legion's power is more about spreading injuries, and when Feral Frenzy ends, he's back to being a basic M1 killer who has to play the chase game just like every other killer. Now for the low D tier killers. These killers are the worst of the worst. Their power sometimes does nothing at all. So, who is the worst of the worst? First up, we got the Trapper. Like the Hag, the Trapper relies heavily on the mid to late game for any real success. Now, to put this in perspective, survivors have a 4% chance to escape hooks, but Bear Trap escapes are at a whopping 16.67% with an automatic escape after 6 attempts. If a survivor steps into a trap and you're far away, there's a good chance they'll escape before you even reach them. And sometimes, even when I place a trap at a pallet, survivors will just walk around it. It doesn't completely cover that small gap there when you place it at a pallet. And it's just completely useless. There was a time when the Trapper was a real threat, placing traps right in front of a hook survivor, using dark moonlight offerings, allowing them not to be seen. But now, with each engine update, traps have become far more visible, even in the grass. High MMR survivors know better than to step in the grass anyways, so don't expect it to work. And don't forget the map item. It can detect all killer belongings, rendering traps completely useless. If a Trapper main ever enters a tournament, one person with this item could call out the location of every trap. Alright, one thing you can do as a survivor is avoid the basement at all costs. It's one of the only situations where you've essentially handed the killer a free kill, because no one's going to get in there and save them. Because the Trapper's just going to trap the entire area, all the entrances, and there's just no way. And sometimes survivors will just all end up in the basement because for some reason they just have to save their friend. When they don't, they could just escape. Another counter is stepping into a trap with endurance. When the Trapper swings at you, you'll take the endurance hit and keep moving. I've only recently learned this because hardly anyone willingly steps into a trap. It's too risky as he might just pick you up instead, making this counter basically useless. But it is something you can do. Overall, there are moments when I feel completely powerless as the Trapper. with survivors just looping me and walking around my traps over and over and over again. He does have some strengths with an in-game build, and you can block the exit gates, but beyond that, he firmly belongs in the low D tier. Lastly, we have the Skull Merchant. This killer was recently gutted, leaving her with only one scan line to detect survivors with her drones. While she can use her drones to become undetectable and has a reduced 24-meter radius after her most recent buff, her power remains underwhelming. I mean, you can use a stealth build, but there's nothing really to her power that's outstanding. Many of her add-ons depend on applying the claw trap if you hit them with your drone line, but with just one scan line, it's much harder to pull off. Survivors can simply crouch beneath the scan line to avoid detection. Although she has an average movement speed, it's just no power. Unless you can get a claw trap on someone, you basically got nothing. So it's really easy to avoid, and you really got nothing for you. The developers have hinted at a future change for her. I've recently saw in the forums that there was a post about the Skull Merchant and some of the changes they're considering. I have not looked at that yet, but they are considering changing her and the Trickster. So we'll see what happens. But right now the Skull Merchant is the weakest killer in the game, placing her at the bottom of the tier list. Alright, we finally made it to the end of the tier list. I was starting to get tired, especially around the C tier, but anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think of it. If you disagree, just be a little civil about it, don't get too angry. And I'll see you guys in the next one.